This is Scott at supportbahrainrights.com, and I wanted to talk more about how can we spread the message through the world that the Al-Khalifa regime is engaged in outrageous forms of torture in Bahrain, and that the West has refused to condemn it, while the United States continues to sell billions of dollars in arms to them. And last week, I made a video about wearing a white armband and using that to spread the message about the torture of wounded patients throughout Bahrain. And what I discovered in wearing that is that strangers are oftentimes very afraid, very shy of asking questions. So a few people would stare, but in general, people wouldn't ask questions unless I was already in a conversation with them. So they had a hard time understanding what it meant. So that's why I created this shirt, Stop Arming Torture in Bahrain. And I added a black armband. Black stands for death. That's the death, all the people that have died, including the 3 people that were tortured to death in April. And on the back, and on the back of the shirt, it says www.supportbahrainrights.com. And so what I discovered in doing this is now this will be a very powerful protest shirt. 4 or 5 people together with signs and a megaphone, and this will get a lot of attention. And this is a very powerful saying here. U.S. stop arming torture in Bahrain. And this could be on bumper stickers, shirts, flags, huge banners. It's a very powerful symbol that can help to augment anti-war activists, peace activists anywhere in the world, especially with the armbands. But what I discovered here was that just walking individually by myself, let's say in a shopping mall, strangers would still be hesitant to ask any questions about it. And what I also discovered was oftentimes strangers assumed that this was just a sports shirt. So they had a hard time being able to tell, and they're walking by very fast, and even if they see it, it's still hard for them, and they just keep moving on. So and what I discovered was the people who did ask me about the shirt, again, were people that were in a conversation already with me. So the most effective way of possibly spreading this message on a massive scale throughout the world would probably be in environments where people know you, such as at work and at school. And that would probably require wearing something small, like a small pin, a small red ribbon, a small white ribbon, or for people who are comfortable with, possibly a small red cross, which in the West immediately stands for first aid, and that'd be the torture of wounded people and doctors. So something like that, if it's small, it wouldn't be disruptive to the environment, and you could simply discuss it with people. They can ask you, and you'd be able to spread the message that way. And they actually have a term for it. They're called awareness ribbons, and they're available at pin shops, at places that sell pins for wearing. And I'll be experimenting with that at work next week. So there's actually an excellent video from a fellow person on YouTube that I'm going to have a link to, where she actually did try something that seemed a little bit more, that was subtle enough for her to wear at school, and she seemed to be getting pretty good results. So it looks like the graphic type of dress like this might be great for protest situations, and possibly small pins or buttons might be great for spreading the message throughout the world. Also, religious organizations and clerics, they might feel more comfortable in asking millions of people to wear small pins to work and to wear small pins like that in general, which might help to spread it among millions of people. I have to repeat, the types of torture that have gone on in Bahrain are a complete scandal. It completely violates international law to torture wounded patients in the hospital. And once the U.S. government gave the Bahraini monarchy the go-ahead to do that, the Bahraini monarchy has been torturing many other people as well. So this is a scandal, and we cannot let the Bahraini monarchy or the governments that are arming them walk away from this. Now, I'd like to talk about the feedback that I did receive in wearing this shirt to the malls and to shops and just out on the street. And the thing that people told me was that it needs to be easy to read. It needs to be large so that they can see it, they even know it's there. And it also needs to be catchy in order to catch their attention. So I originally started off with a shirt like this. This is just me experimenting with a marker. So this definitely is not a final product. A marker, this would all wash off if I put it and mix with all the rest of the clothes. So this is just a first rough draft. But I started off with something like this, and the people said it was very easy to read, very clear once they read it, but it was too small. The lettering is too small. You have to be right in front of the person to see it. And people are usually a few feet from you and walking by. So that's why the letters need to be large like this. Another criticism I had with a shirt where the letters were larger was they said that it was crumpled up and hard to read. That's because if it got a little crumpled, the letters were so large, it crumpled on itself. So it needs to be large enough where they can see it, but also easy to read. It also needs to be catchy. So you see, they're assuming it's a sports shirt or something else, so it's the flashiness that even gets their attention at all. So that's why I have this torture in red here. And also an art pattern, maybe on the back, might be very, very helpful in getting people's attention. I was able to include a black armband because now that we've got this wording here, the people won't mix it up with other causes. So I also am going to have a link to art patterns from a very good supporter that might be very helpful as well. Another feedback is that this shirt is red and white because it stands for first aid and the Bahraini colors. But red washes off and can mix with other clothes. And the parents of high school students and college students might not want to buy a shirt that is red. So it also should be available in colors that are not red. I also have this in one size larger than me so that it's easy to read. A smaller shirt gets crumpled with the body and becomes more difficult to read. So I'm a size medium, so a size large was good, and I could quickly put it on over other clothes. Another thing is a referral site. If you're dealing with a stranger, you might have to refer them to Physicians for Human Rights or Doctors Without Borders or Human Rights Watch because they're dealing with first impressions. If you recommend a personal site, they might not think it has a lot of credibility. Personal sites might work great, though, when you are in the workplace. This is a baseball shirt. There's also and I'm going to have a link to those. There's also baseball undershirts, but their material is thinner and that could crumple more easily. So I made this from baseball shirts. And it looks like that's my 10 minutes.